Hey, welcome to the Treehouse Athenaeum, a place to discover the tools that empower you to embrace both the beauty and challenges of personal growth. There are so many branches leading to your roots. Come on, let's explore.
All right, welcome back. I thought you were frozen.
It's been a day. Want to talk about Mercury retrograde issues? Poor Lisa bowed out because her mic wasn't working, and then my lighting's off. It's a technical issues. Mm-hmm. How are you?
Good. How are you? What are we talking about today, Dave? Ironically, with your lighting issues.
Now that we're here and we're present, today we're talking about the phrasing "love and light" and how it can be used in a toxic way, like that toxic positivity piece with the spiritual community. And I think a lot of people know this, and you've experienced this more than I have, I think, just maybe growing up in it or your demographic that you work with. But luckily I haven't. I know there's I see it when it comes to like psychological issues, or when people are really dealing with different mental health aspects in their life. But I'm curious to see where this conversation goes about exploring like why it's so dangerous to just be dismissive, right, of these deeper, darker issues, and why we avoid the darker, the shadow side, the work in essence, by just being dismissive with this, overt positivity. There is something to be said, I think we both agree, with you have to be positive because our thoughts are energy and they attract our reality. They manifest our reality. But at the same time, some of that manifesting is alignment, aligning into the person that you need. And that comes through the hard, darker work of sitting with your shadows and the ugly parts of us, right? And that's where the work really happens to help us align into that higher state, to let go of those things,
Right, and life has seasons. You're not going to be up all the time, and that doesn't mean that you're not embodying love and light if you have experienced a tragedy or a trauma. Yeah. It just means that you're in a different season of your life and it's temporary. And I think in those valleys, when you're recognizing that it is temporary, that is the positive outlook.
Let's define love and light. We never really defined it. So what is love and light?
Love is compassion, empathy. It seems silly to define it, but love is having empathy for someone else, being compassionate for someone else.
Coming out of that place, being motivated out of that space, right? That heart
intention.
Space. Okay, yes.
And light is the other side, the enlightenment, the wisdom, the knowledge.
Absolutely. So start us off on this. What you proposed this topic, and I was very curious about it. And again, I think you've encountered it more than I have. But I am the eternal optimist. I always have been, and I think you're a good foil. But what does this look like? I am the eternal optimist. I will always see a silver lining. I find beauty in the profane. I think I have this phrase I've always said, like I find God, the divine, and the sacred and the profane, and the beautiful and the ugly. I've always been that way, that duality. Yeah. I'm very yin and yang. But there's something about American culture, specifically this Western white girl culture, that has taken on this spiritual community, that we only focus on the light. And we shun the dark, or we dismiss the dark, right? And tell me a little more. What made you think about this?
So this has been my entire life. I've been rolling my eyes at love and light, and it's only really meeting you, Dave, that I've taken a second look at it. Growing up in this, and like the late 90s, mid to late 90s and forward, it was taboo. Right? We didn't really talk about some of these like spiritual things. We didn't talk about tarot. We didn't talk about going to the New Age store, right? Like I went to Catholic school. This wasn't something widely spoken about as it is today. And it's like she had my mom, not to put her fully on blast, but she had her community of people that she went to the New Age store with and practiced her tarot with, and I watched them all overuse the phrase love and light. And it was to the point where I, as a child, 'cause children are very observant, and maybe
especially
because of
Scorpio children.
I was gonna say maybe my chart has something to do with it.
It's definitely a foil, yeah.
Yeah, I would watch them say love and light as a response to things, and toxic positivity to excuse certain behaviors, or excusing rejecting other people or dismissing other people. And so I would watch this and be like, okay, that wasn't positive, and you're trying to repackage it as positive. That's not very love and light of you. But they would look at me and be like, oh, you don't get it yet. You're a child, you don't get it. And I believed that because I was like, maybe I don't get it. But I always knew deep down, I was like, no, you guys are full of it. Like, you're full of it and you don't get it. So then growing up and watching my mom kind of because I have seen the gift that my mom has within her spiritual practice, right? Like, she's a medium. I've witnessed her do some incredible things, and I've seen her wisdom come through. But because she was so excited to finally have a community coming into the 2000s, like, this has become more accepted as time has gone on. But finding, authors and, people on TV, or like the Long Island Medium, which I'm not saying anything's wrong with her. I forgot her name, but nothing's wrong with her. But you only see these snippets, and you only get these bite-sized pieces of what they have to say, and taken out of context.
That's the thing, the context. It is a very different experience when you're involved in the experience personally, right?
Yes.
Rather than just being a voyeur of someone else's, because it has a different resonance, you don't know what's going on in their internal world, what spirit is talking to them, and what they're feeling, and
Yeah. And so I would watch my mom try and heal some of her trauma through some of these books. And again, no shade to my mom at all, but I think she needed a therapist. Like, I don't think she needed
We all need
book.
a therapist,
Yeah. Right. Because the book is only going to serve her as much as her comprehension is serving her. So her trying to take these really complicated and complex theories and try to, solve and heal her trauma, when her trauma is more complicated than just like, oh, my mom ignored me a lot when I was a kid. It's like, no, your trauma runs deeper than that, and maybe you need something a little bit more in depth. And she would get frustrated. She would finish the book or finish whatever video. She used to send me these videos of like, oh, this video talks about healing, you have to watch it, you'll be healed by the end. And I'm like, I don't think I will be healed by the end, because you have to do the work. The video is showing you how to do the work.
Sometimes
and you have to do the work.
there is a miracle, a divine switch, and I love the Course of Miracles. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I just read A Return to Love. It was on RuPaul's Book Club, but Marianne Williamson, and she has that famous quote, "It's our light, not our darkness, that we're most afraid of." But in the Course of Miracles, she talks about a true miracle is really just a shift in perspective in your mind that allows you to be in a different vein, and you see the world differently, you operate differently. That's the miracle, right? Not so much like my arm is healed,
Right. And so she would experience that. She might have a perspective shift while she was reading, but would she remember that after?
Yes.
And so that's what I would watch. I would watch this cycle of, oh, I'm a changed woman and love and light, and I'm all about this toxic positivity, and I finally found the answer. I'm just going to think positively. I need to stop focusing so much on the negative. And so much of dismissing her own internal struggle, it would lead to an explosion, right? And she would get frustrated and regress. And almost regress more sometimes in some of these areas of her life. And I would watch it and I would be like, you've got to stop saying that you're healed. Because that's doing something, I think, internally not just to you, but to me, because I'm like, I don't believe you anymore. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, you come out of this book and you say, okay, I figured it out and I fixed this part of my life, or this trauma, I think I finally healed it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. And then a month will go by and she'll hit a trigger and it's like, boom. And I
Wow.
just, it would drive me insane. And so I think that sometimes, yes, that book did her good, right? Those books are there for a reason. There's nothing wrong with that author. There's nothing wrong with that book. But you have to know more. And I don't know where the better information or accessibility to this information would be. Should it be in the book? Should it be in people? Should she have known
Interesting.
already? But you have to know when you need more.
Yeah.
So you learn
No.
this perspective, but go find a coach, right?
Yeah.
Like, go find someone that you can
But
work
that's
this out
a
with.
deeper investment, right? There's
Yeah.
there's a few things I want to touch on that you're really, it's just fascinating things you're circling around. Okay, so American culture, again, a very Western tradition, and all your Eastern religions, we've adopted this love and light, and I blame yoga because I
Yeah.
love yoga. But like at the end of everything, they're like, "Namaste, the light in me honors and sees the light of you, in you," which is beautiful and a deeply spiritual principle. If you can look at people as God beings rather than like flawed, meat packages, it makes a huge difference, right? In your eternal perspective, things are easier. It's a deeper wisdom. But when you're in yoga and you're being judged by, Kathy over here, it just has a different resonance when it's used flippantly. And then why I was bringing this up is because Eastern religions are very linked. Everything has the opposite, right? Whether that's Taoism, but you see it in Hinduism, and like for every male deity, there's a female deity. For every light incarnation, there's a dark incarnate. Like think Kali, she's the dark goddess, the destroyer, but the liberator, right? But
Right.
she's feared, but yet then you have her healthy, receptive and loving version. It's so in Western culture, I think we've really divorced the shadow side. Christianity demonizes everything that's dark. There's God and the devil. Truth is, God is both. If He created the devil, like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously
And
that's
the
part
Virgin
of God.
Mary.
Yes.
Come on.
I can
Really?
see you at Catholic school, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So the angel told her, okay. But in Western tradition, I think we have that as a cultural piece. But also, I think as the spiritual movement really started taking hold, and like, again, spiritual movement, this like fad movement, self-help books and all of these, like, buy into this, and you saw the rise of all these different programs and these teachers and gurus. Once you start monetizing, or the capitalism piece gets in there, I think it divorces a lot of that wisdom, and you
Yeah.
lose a lot of the depth that is supposed to be intrinsically written into this, right? So anyone who really knows and practices love and light and a genuine, you feel it first,
Yeah.
right? You feel it. There's a difference. And you as a kid were picking up on that, right? You were like, something's off. You're being judgy, but you're using this phrase, so it's not lining up. So when we like you were saying with, Teresa Caputo and everything, it's amazing that we have these books and these revelations, and there may be a lot of truth in these amazing, like The Power of Now, right? With Eckhart Tolle. Amazing, awesome, life transitioning wisdom if you're ready to receive it, if you're ready to apply it. It's an amazing book. Oprah got it. It's all over. But how many people actually started to employ it, you know what I mean, in their
Right.
lives? So
It's frustrating because you are reading a book that is going to do you an immense good, right? Again, like you said, if you're ready to receive it. But also, it's general. You might have specific individual things that maybe fit into the book and might not. And so maybe this book is leading you down a rabbit hole of, okay, maybe I figured out that I need help in this one area. Go get it.
So
Or maybe it's in you. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's kind of where I went back then, especially as a teenager, because, I was a teenager and I thought, you know, I was right about everything. Yeah. So, you know, I would see these cycles in my mom, and I would be like, just look within yourself. Like, why are you even searching externally? Because I think you know the answer. And so I would tell her that all the time. I think you know the answer and you're avoiding it. You reading and obsessing over the new age lifestyle. You are willfully leaving the dark in the dark, and it's doing you a disservice. And now I understand a little bit more. I know she was looking for help, right? She was looking for help, and that's what we're all doing. We're looking for more information, more enlightenment, more, and right, it's part of that monetization. At what point are you just not living authentically anymore?
Yeah. And your authenticity, that's the other thing. There could be 30 books on, you know, manifesting a better body, like getting your mind right so you can be in a healthier lifestyle. Your path, your body knows what it needs. Your life is different than everyone, infinitely different than everyone else's. So your intuition's the only guide that will help you get to your balance. You know what I mean? I always think of the when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And with all of these books, with all of these pathways to these wisdoms and truths that people are just, you know what I mean? Everyone's got this sacred truth for you, which I do believe there's truth in everything and wisdom in everything, but it doesn't digest and process the same, right? Because there's timing. You got to be ready to accept what's the knowledge and the wisdom. You got to be willing to apply it in your life, and that's the other thing. What was the term we just came upon? Spiritual bypassing.
Spiritual bypassing.
That's really interesting when we start talking about the psychological aspects. A lot of times it's mental health issues, and I'm a firm believer that mind-body-spirit connection, there is a connection between mental health, psychology, the mind, the spirit. You know what I mean? And then even the body, just like the body stores our energy too. So there's a lot that needs to come into alignment. But when you're using these spiritual phrasings and like flippant, dismissive regard for things that can be deeply, like you said, you need to go to therapy. You need to seek out a professional to help you work through. It's all within you.
Yeah.
You got all of it, like you said. You know what you need. It's just sometimes we need help accessing, letting it out, you know, coming back to it.
And to be clear, like, the books are not the problem.
Yeah.
These authors, these other people, most of them are not the problem. It's you know, that white girl new age kind of thing. It's knowing how and where and why it applies to you, and then using it not just as like a social media fad.
Yeah, doing the work. Okay, so let's talk about, you had mentioned something about, we touched on like being genuine. There's a difference too. You know someone who is authentic, who's living a life of love and light, because there's a vibrational difference. This is an energetic thing at the end of the day. We're never 100% one way or the other. It's not about that, but you know when someone is a kind person, or they are walking in compassion the majority of their life, right? They're just, there's a sweetness, there's a difference, you know, humility. There's just a lot of these tells. So give me some context. You were talking about there's a time to give and receive love and light, when to apply that versus when to accept it, you know?
There's, I think, such a paradox to love and light in that way, because sometimes you are going to give love and light and sometimes you need to receive love and light. This comes from the Eastern religions, like you mentioned, but it came with that balance of the yin and yang. So we have, I say we, the new age, spiritual, whatever, people have taken it as like, oh, this is good. And I think it roots into our perspective, like you said, of the Christian religions, because, oh no, the devil's bad, everything, all of that. But it has then morphed into this, if you are not love and light, then I don't want anything to do with you. And the thing is, like I said, we go through seasons. Everyone is going to have a valley. Everyone is going to have something unexpected happen to them. No matter how much you embody love and light, if your parent passes away,
Yeah.
You might not be the person that you were before that, and you can't give the way that you did then. And so that's what I mean about valleys. Sometimes these things are out of your control, and
Absolutely.
you can't love and light your way out of grieving. I mean, you can, but that's different. It's like,
This is a great point because there is light in everything.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And there's beauty in grieving. There is a necessity. Grieving
Yes.
allows the passage. You know what I mean? It's the transition. We
Right.
shouldn't remain in there, you know?
and this is the spiritual bypassing, right?
Yep.
You can't bypass grief.
You have to go
Because
through it.
you are misinterpreting love and light. Grief is love. What's the quote from WandaVision? That quote is beautiful. What is grief if not love persevering?
Oh.
And that's the thing, like you miss out by
Yeah.
spiritual bypassing, by misinterpreting the term love and light. You're bypassing all of these like really deep emotions. You realize that you're not feeling deeply, you're not living authentically. You feel like you have something unhealed because you didn't do the thing. You didn't grieve. You
Yeah.
didn't stop to feel this negative thing that happened to you. You just wanted to like think positively out of it instead of working through
Which
the trauma and the
really,
shadow.
The bypassing piece, it's avoidance. And I know that
Yes.
sounds simple, but it's obvious. Like nature takes the time it takes, right? There is a process to things. There's a process to grow, to expand, there is a process. If we were just to like get that knowledge and be better, be, enlightened, it would be, we wouldn't be able to handle it because
Right.
it's just, that's not how it works. And there's like your mom, back to that example of she would read these books, there's a digestion process, right? You get the seed, you get the idea, you think a little different, but God, it can take years to make that wisdom and application in your life a reality, right? Sometimes it can be instant, that enlightenment, and that's what the enlightenment is, like the Buddha under the tree. Whoop, you got it. This is what I'm supposed to do. But for the most of us,
Yeah.
for the general population, that is
Yeah.
not how it works. There is a grieving process, but that grief is what allows us to expand deeper into a love, to understand the greater, connection of all life. And it's just beautiful.
Right. It reminds me, I know this is going to be kind of niche. There's a common phenomenon that happens in motherhood where right after you have your baby, you are simultaneously the happiest you've ever been in your life and also the saddest you've ever been in your life, because part of it is you feel guilty for being sad because you are holding this absolute blessing in your arms and you know that this is the best thing and you've never loved as hard and you like all of these things, but also the person you were before birth is gone.
You're grieving it. Yes.
You are. And so I promise I'm not
The
crying.
loss of independence.
Right.
This is like your second time. Like, I'm not crying. It's okay to cry, Danielle.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I know. I know.
You can. This
Yeah.
is a safe space.
But there's this and maybe what we're circling around is the external projections, the perceptions of other people and how we're trying to navigate that and control the narrative. But there's this feeling that you're going to be judged by other moms and older moms or just women or culture, society in general, that, oh my gosh, how could you be focusing on those things when you have this baby? You should be so thankful. You should be so in love. You should be having like all this motherhood bliss. It's like, yes, I am. And I am
It's this
also.
and that. Yeah.
Yes. And so I think we're kind of talking about the same thing with the love and light. It's yes, love and light. I'm grieving right now and I still am embodying love and light because I am grieving. I'm experiencing the
space.
love. And I'm feeling the wisdom from the grief process. It's such an intentional. There's a reason we have it. There's a reason that it's so transcendent. You have to go through these valleys, otherwise you're never going to grow. So if you're someone who's love and lighting your way, spiritual bypassing out of these harder things, you're staying stagnant, and you're avoiding accountability.
You're avoiding your own personal accountability in your life. Yeah. Taking ownership for that's powerful. This toxic positivity piece, I've been doing a lot of research recently on narcissism, I had a recent encounter, and it is a theme that I need to heal. It keeps popping up since my family of origin, and again, I thought I loved and liked my way around it, but it keeps manifesting. I'm drawing these types of energies to me, and I'm engaging them, which says I need to heal this part. Right? There's work to be done here, and one of the doctors was talking about one of the biggest disservices of the toxic positivity movement, this love and light movement, is we think that because we are aware, that we know better, right? Know better, do better, that we suffer more or we take on more than we should. Sometimes the love and light response is to walk away. That's the harder thing. That's the darker perceived, action of whether that's an abandoning, like not abandoning, but cutting off an addict. If you have a family member that's addicted, but they continually hurt and cause injury to the family, sometimes most of the time, you have to shut them down, like shut them out, remove them, If they're not willing to do the work, take accountability for their stuff, again, it's a disease and there's a lot to it, but if it's impacting your life, it is not good for you, right? It's toxic for you. And she was talking about narcissists. A lot of times we think I understand they're just tragically insecure and their wounds, and we start to rationalize, this is their family of origin. He's this way because... It doesn't matter. It's still toxic, and until they take ownership of their own, their own choices and thoughts and behaviors, how they treat people, then just because we can suffer doesn't mean we should. That's not healthy. That's inhibiting our growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because you can suffer doesn't mean you should. Oh my God.
And that's a big theme with empaths too. People who are more empathic or just have a bigger heart, sensitive souls. We see the light in people, so we want to give up. We want to help them. We want to help them reach that, or even that white knight syndrome. We want to save people sometimes. Yeah. But you can't save anyone. They have to do it themselves. Yeah. Fast.
You can be the bridge.
Yes. But you're still just offering the ladder.
You are a vessel.
What I mean?
Yeah. You are not doing the work for them. You are not transforming for them. They have to do it. And so you can lead a horse to water, but at a certain point, I don't want to say you give up, but you realize that you're no longer providing a benefit to them by continually dragging them to the lake. You're now hurting their neck and they have bruises, right?
And yours, like to carry a horse is a lot of work.
Yeah. So, and so there's a lot of nuance in this, and I think that when it's packaged and delivered in a general sense, people can use it as an excuse, right? Yes. Like, I don't have time for you, you're too much for me, whatever. And then on the flip side, again, of having... Maybe you are more enlightened, maybe you're an empath of like, okay, well, no one else is going to stick around, and I know, because I know what they're going through, I'm going to stick around. At a certain point, you have to realize when to call it. And you're not a bad person because you're calling it, because maybe you are just not the right person to help them, and that's okay.
Or they're not there yet. Timing is a big part of this. That student... quote, the teacher appears literally. Sometimes it's all about, you can have the wisdom, but the timing's not right. Everything happens and unfolds in perfect timing, right? I want to kind of come down back to this. There's a spiritual ego piece that plays into this love and light, and again, same thing with this narcissist example. So say you have a narcissistic partner, and I was in this kind of situation for years, like in my marriage, and I took on this role. I knew where it was coming from. I saw his pain, and I wanted to protect him and heal him. And what I didn't realize, like you were saying, you can't heal anyone. You can't do this. You can't do this work, but you love them and you want to help them through it, and you want to help guide. But what I did is I ended up holding myself back for years because I was, one, afraid to leave, but I was afraid to leave him behind. But when I look at it now in this context, there was a spiritual ego to this. And what I mean by that, we have our ego that makes us act out, of these like fleshly desires or, responses like pride and, jealousy, but there's also this pride that comes with, oh, love and light. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do go to yoga. I've been in an ashram for 2 years in India, but again, it's energy. It doesn't lie. And so people use this as a weapon or a defense mechanism too. She's just going through this stuff. She's toxic, blah, blah, blah. You know, we'll love and light her. That spiritual ego piece, yeah, she may understand where she's coming from, what she's going through, but it's still a separative. It separates. You know what I mean? It's what am I trying to say here? I guess
you're being kind of arrogant. You're trying to put the other person down because they're, you know, not at the spiritual enlightenment that you are,
right?
Yeah,
which actually keeps them from seeing the light, and then you're actually diminishing your own and separating you from the realization that this is all an illusion. We're all the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're God, you're God. You know?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, if you were to approach someone who's on like another path than you and maybe appears more enlightened than you, is that how you would want to be treated?
Exactly.
It doesn't
Because
make sense.
we've been where other people have been. We all come from the same place, right? I mean, we all start from the same place. So there's a process, there's a progression. Like, it's so important to realize everyone is at a certain point on their journey. You know what I mean? Again, we don't got to tolerate it.
Yeah.
But,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of where you were going with, you know, the narcissism. It's, you have to know when to walk away.
Yes.
And part of that is like kind of what I was getting at with maybe you're not the right person. I think there is this perception of like, if I can't heal them, nobody can. It's like, no, babe, that's spiritual ego.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I can get through to them. Like, how many times have you heard that? Well, I can, like, in dating, like the girl, like, you just don't see his good side. Do you know what when he's a different person with me? Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And this is the reality. So obviously you're not seeing it either. People are this and that, you know?
Right. And that's kind of like you were saying, sometimes letting go is the love and light. And in my head, I just heard sometimes throwing hands is love and light.
Yes.
Because I listen, I'm not a physically violent person.
Yeah, no.
But sometimes people need to be called out. Sometimes you do need to hold somebody to the fire because you cannot continue. There is this person, you know, that infamously does this to everybody, and they just they go around and continue to disrespect them. They go to a person, they provide them help because that's always the woe is me, and then they help them. They do something, you know, I say that you don't have to do, but everyone has like that helper in them, or it's like, you know, they do whatever it is that they need to do to help this person because you see the potential.
Yeah.
Right? And so you are like, okay, yeah, let me help you out of this thing and don't worry about it because I love you, right? You're loving this person, you're compassionate, you're empathetic. Let me provide this wisdom, let me provide my light by helping you out of this difficult situation. And then they turn around and just talk crap about them to anyone and everyone that will listen. And it's this cycle that continues.
But they're part of the cycle. Right? They keep feeding into it. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so at a certain point where I feel activated, I should say, is I'm like, okay, the problem is now that there are no consequences. So it's like we are all sitting here saying, we can't do, you know how they are. We can't be like that with them. Oh my gosh, like that's not very empathetic. It's also not very empathetic what they're doing. And so how much abuse are we willing to withstand? Yes. Because, oh, well, you know how they are. No, I'm done. I know how they are, and I'm about to tell them how they're being because I'm done. So so that doesn't look like love and light, right? But,
oh my God.
But it's like...
it's necessary.
I'm doing this, right. It's like I'm doing this with love for myself.
Yeah,
because I will not continue to let myself...
It's the lens, right?
Yeah.
It's through me. I need to protect.
And taken out of context, I understand how that sounds bad. Like, I understand the balance between loving the other person while loving yourself. It's not one or the other. It's both. You love yourself and you love the other person. Yeah. And so if your lines are being crossed, if they're disrespecting you, there are variety of
love.
different methods. Right. There, you can handle it
Gotta
through a
give it to
variety of
yourself.
different ways, right? Maybe it wasn't unintentional, and maybe it warrants a conversation, or
We're talking
you know,
patterns, though, right? Patterns,
yes,
when you
yeah,
see people and
but
behaviors.
it's right. So it's like at a certain point, the love that I'm choosing to give in this situation is now for all the people that were betrayed and are not holding, their self-worth. They're not picking themselves up or defending themselves or whatever. And I'm fully capable of defending myself, and I'll defend you too, because I'm over it. But
when you said this, I always say RuPaul's one of my sages, and something that stuck with me years ago. He's like, I always try to come from a place of love, but sometimes you got to break it down for a motherfucker.
yes, yes,
and it's that energy of like, I've tried, I've listened, I've sat with, and I see you're not changing. This is intentional. Yeah. And like you said, I'm here to confront it. Like this behavior stops now.
Right.
Like,
and I would say this is the last choice, right? Because walking away if you can is better than having the confrontation. But if you are at a point where nothing is working, the situation is not going away, you're going to be, for whatever reason you can't remove yourself. Yeah. It's time for phase 2. And that, I think that in the New Age community, that would be frowned upon. And so you would continue. I should say in the toxic New Age community. Yeah. That would be frowned upon because you know better, right? It is that spiritual ego.
Mm-hmm. And the people that are doing the work, that are living that vibration, have faced these things. They have faced and confronted their dark. They've incorporated it. You know what I mean? It's not a battle to win against. It's really just acceptance of. And then once you accept it, that's where the compassion piece, that's where the love and the light settle in and allow you to expand around it, to grow more than. It doesn't affect you the same because you see its actual place. Like, that's not really who I am. That's not my soul. You know what I mean? These are wounds. And that's the healing part. You grow and expand beyond it, which allows you to see and relate to it in other people. You know what I mean? So then you have more compassion for other people and where they're at. And I find the more I evolve on this journey, it's a lot more for me about being less involved in other people's lives. And I say that meaning I know my role is here to teach and guide by example. Rather than like going and doing the work, like you said, being in the trenches. I can't change anyone, like you said earlier, but I can exemplify love and joy and a life that they potentially want. It's up to them to do the work. And that has such a profound effect because for me, one, I'm lighter. My load, my burden is lighter. It's not my burden is the gag, right? It's not my work. But by living and exemplifying and resonating in my vibration, in my authentic version, then people can see that and find it for themselves. And if they seek me out, then let's talk. I'm here to help you. I have all the resources. I have so many experiences. Let's do this together. But they're ready. It's a mind shift set, I can't talk, a mindset shift. So I'm excited.
Well,
I'm excited.
Yeah, right. Because even like I like to say my door's always open because even if I had to step away from someone or I had to like temporarily close the door, in my head usually it is temporary, truly temporary, because if they come back to me a month later, years later, whatever, and say, hey, I want to readdress this thing because like I've grown as a person and I've been thinking a lot about this. Yeah, let's do it. Let's have the conversation because honestly, I want it too.
Space for people to grow. That's important.
Yeah.
So important.
Right. And if it's something that, for me personally, if I had to walk away, that means I saw no other solution. Yeah. And that is as frustrating for me as it is maybe confusing for the other person as to why I couldn't just stick around or couldn't just continue going on as we were. Yeah. And at a certain point, they're going to have, hopefully, if they're, on their own self-discovery journey, they're going to realize, oh, this is why. And so now we can come back and have a conversation of like, this is what was going on. This was my side of it and why. Now we can have a mature conversation about what was going on.
And,
And maybe we pick our relationship back up, and maybe we don't, but I don't know. There's that's love and light too, is kind of having that, like, I don't know, space for people.
Allowing
but also
space, yes.
Loving yourself and knowing when to open the door.
And when to give yourself space.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the part that's frustrating, is that, dismissing people that were in their valleys. And I was like, this isn't empathetic or compassionate. Why are we being passive aggressive towards this person who's obviously experiencing a really hard moment? It just doesn't make any sense.
No, you're hitting it on the head. I really enjoyed this. It's funny, like, going through this conversation, I realize now I always say love and light more as a jar, or like like when I'm at the grocery store and she's like, ah, and I'm like, ooh, love and light there. Like, let's give her some love and light. It's a jest now.
Yeah.
Because again, I think the people that actually embody love and light as a principle, as a mantra, as a way of life, it shows on its own, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I always namaste. I'll always namaste in yoga. I love that.
Yeah, I think I was just going to add, it's I always like to say I'm speaking to the people who might resonate with me, because I feel like I walk a different path in this community, because I tend to see through people a lot. And it's hard because I operate in this problem solving kind of capacity. I feel like I simultaneously see your potential and why you're floundering it. And that's hard. That's a hard conversation to have, right? You can't just walk up to someone and be like, hey, I noticed that you have this block here and you're actually being really disrespectful, and, you should stop doing this or whatever. I'm pointing out, like, the shadow in them because I don't know how I do it. I can just see it. No. I see it so clearly. And so I feel like I felt for a long time like I didn't get to say love and light, because it's like I didn't embody that. But really, it's just you do embody that. I embody that. It's just my love is different. It's a different. You have to be, and this is what I've learned. It's time and place, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's time and place for all of it. They
have to be ready to hear the wisdom.
Yeah, they have to be ready. And
wisdom infuriates people if the timing's not right, because you activate that shadow. You trigger shame. You trigger, So it's what I would say, if you feel or if you felt in the past like me, or you're frustrated with love and light, you are love and light. The fact that you're passionate about it or frustrated with it just tells me more that you have it more in you than some of these people who are using it passive aggressively or to dismiss other people. So you are love and light. Don't doubt that. It's so crazy that you just confirmed something. I saw something or read something talking about how Geminis and Scorpios, out of all the signs, are the truth seekers. And we have a tendency to activate people's wounds more than any other sign. Granted, we come from very different places, because I like the surface and the truth of, like, what I'm trying to say is we're mirrors. We're very much mirrors, and people have, I think, the hardest time with Scorpios and Geminis, because we're constantly activating, where I might be like more like the jester poking fun, like, wonder what that's about, is that was a reaction, where you're is like, you have trauma and you need to go to therapy, and we should talk about why you haven't grieved your mother's death yet. Like,
I always think of Cordelia and Buffy. I don't remember what episode it is, but she goes, what is your childhood trauma? And it's so, like, I felt so seen, because I'm like, I would ask that. Why are you like this?
But at the heart of what this is, what we're doing, our soul's point on this cycle, is we are mirrors, and we're truth seekers. And it's not to make someone vulnerable or expose them. It's really like, what's the truth of where you're at, and what do you need? What does the situation, what's the reality of the situation? And there's power. I think we know there's power and transformation in accepting that, right? And seeing that and embracing the truth. Where a lot of people tend to avoid it. I think that's a big part of our soul purpose here. And it's just funny, out of all the signs, I think Geminis and Scorpios get that more than anyone, and we have a special bond because of that. Because
we get a bad rep.
I see it in you. I respect it.
Yeah.
Like, it may not be always comfortable. Again, Geminis, I think, really like awkward. We thrive on that. But.
My best friend is a Gemini. Yeah, and you reflecting that makes me see us and our dynamic, especially towards other people, so differently because yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yay, one true secret to another, whether people want it or not. Like, we have it to offer.
Yes. I won't force it upon you, I promise.
We'll see. I like to instigate. For fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. And to everyone watching, I just hope there's some nuggets in here to make you think about things a little differently. Our culture, the way we're raised, how we use this terminology, and admiring both the problematic sides of it, but also the beauty in it too, right? Mm-hmm. So, love and light.
Yeah, love and light.
See you soon.
Thanks for joining us in the treehouse today. We were so happy to have you. Hey, if you enjoyed your time here today, could you do us one little favor and pass this on to someone else who might enjoy it? We appreciate you so much. See you next week.